Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hunted Podcast. I'm AJ Cox. With me, as always, is Levi Mason. Go through, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and all that good stuff. See what we're up to. We're not really on the social media as much as we should, but we try to put that stuff out enough to at least show you guys what we got going on. So with all that being said, this episode and all our other episodes, I'm going to run through our sponsors here just real quick and kind of in a hurry. Levi and I have been chomping at the bit for at least a week, getting excited to talk to Matt here from REK Broadheads. So with that being said, we're brought to you by REK Broadheads, Wild Oak Whitetails Buck Lure, Dominant Strands Bowstrings, ECW Hunting Calls, Marath Welding, Hex, Nature Made Jewelry, National Land Realty, Backwoods Premium Wildlife Products, and he's not a sponsor, but he goes through and he makes our he makes our t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, and all that stuff. Is Redbeard Custom Engravings. They're all great people. Go through, make sure to check them out on Facebook and other social media platforms. And let them know that how you found them out is through us. We greatly appreciate that, and I'm sure they'd appreciate that too, to know that we're not just sitting here not doing nothing about it. So we're going to jump into the part of our shout outs and thank yous to first responders and military. If you are any way, shape, or form a first responder, military, or if a family member, a person of anybody that's a first responder, military, you kind of have an idea of all this stuff that these people go through. Excuse me. Even in little nothing towns like we're in, I mean, they go through and they see stuff. They deal with stuff to keep us all safe, all comfy, quiet in our beds and everything like this. Just make sure to go through and tell them thank you, shake their hand, because we wouldn't be doing sitting here talking with people about hunting, or hell, even being able to go out and enjoy the outdoors, if it wasn't for these people. Especially nowadays, we got a whole bunch of chaos going on and everything. With people trying to separate, divide, and all that good stuff. But I promise you, man, these first responders and military, well, I guess I shouldn't say all of them. Most of them are out there. They don't care who you are. All they know is when you need help, that they're first ones through the door to make sure that you're safe. So with all that being said, we're just going to give a few moments of silence here as our way of saying thank you to those who are no longer with us. All right, one more time, we just like to say thank you to anybody that's a first responder, military, anything like that. If you're listening to this and, you got a shout out that you want to go through to somebody, or a special branch of the military, or, something that happened in your neighborhood, town, city, state, go through and let us know. And we would be more than happy to go through and talk about it and say thank you, because all of our sponsors, I guarantee it. I know me and Levi and everybody we talk to, man, we all know that we couldn't be doing what we're doing without them. So, all right, we're going to jump right into this real quick. We got Matt from REK Broadheads, and we're just going to open this up real quick and simple, hopefully for you. How'd the ATA go?
Man, ATA was it was fantastic this year. This was the third one we've attended now. Being kind of a new brand, it's cool to see the growth and the company becoming more recognizable to people. The first year we went to it, we were just talking about this today, actually, we, felt maybe even a little out of place at the first one. Like nobody knew who we were, what we were about, what our products were, anything. Last year I was like, all right, a few people kind of remembered us, like, all right, cool, you guys made it back your second year. But then this year, man, it was just a banger. Like it was, there was a lot of buzz going around about us and our new HXP broadhead that we released at the show. A lot of good conversation and contexts were made there, and man, we're coming into 2024 swinging.
That's awesome. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I saw something. Did you get a special award or anything down there? Not a reward. Oh my goodness, I'm having a brain fart here. Somebody said the REK XP was one of the best new heads or something like that.
Yeah, so we were in the running for there was I don't know, maybe 4 new broadhead launched down there in the new product section. We were in the running for best broadhead. A few of the magazines and media outlets down there ranked us as what their opinion was the best new broadhead. We did not actually win the archery trade show best
Hmm.
new broadhead of the year, but there was a lot of media and hype around. People really received our new HXP really well, and we're pretty excited about it. So we did get some recognition from some media outlets on that.
Dude, I'm completely unfamiliar on like how they go through and rank these or even do anything like this, but like I guess I mean because like we were talking before we got on this, like we loved the heads as they were. So like what makes it I guess that much better than what they were already? Like how do they go through and say that hey, this is a new head and this is why we like them?
Yeah, so they were kind of describing that when they announced at the banquet on who won. I think they said, I forget the exact number, but somewhere maybe a dozen, 15, maybe even 17. I forget the exact number, but there's a bunch of different members of the ATA that are designated voters. So they walk through the new product area, they look at all the new stuff, and they take each category and they cast their vote on it. And there was, it's I don't know that they have actually any specific guideline other than just maybe personal preference of what they're looking for there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the head that won it was who was that? Annihilator won it, and it was a new fixed head. They've got pretty different design compared to anything that's ever been out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really in our category. We're the replaceable blade category. They're more of a fixed one piece, but just the way they designed this thing, you almost got to check it out. I don't even know how to describe it. It's got a lot of different kind of angles to it and bevels and stuff. It's kind of a neat head.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, with all that being said, I mean, I know we spoke a little bit. You know, you're growing, and you're doing and seeing how things are coming. Like how did you decide to like take this plunge and to go through into the broadheads? I mean, because I mean, Lord knows how many broadheads are already out there.
It's definitely you could say a saturated market, but there's always room for new and innovative products, and there's always room for something that's really quality made. And like we've talked, my dad and I live to bow hunt. That's what we love to do, and I've bow hunted since I was legally since I was 12 years old on my own, and then since I was a little kid going out with my dad. And we traveled the country each fall, my dad and I, just hunting all over the place. And so before we started the company, we had shot, just about every broadhead you can imagine. And we've tried a lot of them, fixed expandables, and we shot some really good heads, and we shot some that weren't quite as good, that had some issues, some failures, and stuff like that. And my dad had a background, or has a background. He's worked in manufacturing for over 40 years. So we kind of decided one day that we were going to try to put together a broadhead that we thought would fix some of the issues we were having with some of the competitors. And so we just started designing our expandable head. We really wanted to build something that was going to hold up to hard impacts.
Mm-hmm.
Beef the blades up, put a big chisel tip on it, something that was going to bust through bone. And then we wanted to try to eliminate the problem of pulling an arrow out of your quiver and it's deployed.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a few different kind of concepts on what we wanted to do here, and we knew we wanted to make it in America because we take a lot of pride in American manufacturing. Both my grandfathers worked at General Motors. My dad's worked in manufacturing here locally for 40 some years, and it's just we take a lot of pride in that. So we kind of want to put our own twist on it, and we started with that expandable, and the first year we tested, it just worked really well and kind of solved some of the problems. I mean, we had to make a lot of changes throughout to get the final product, but it really just it fixed the issues we were having with some of the competing broadheads, and we felt fully confident in it. So we decided to bring that to market in 2020. Right in there somewhere, we also realized that hey, we could add a new twist to this, and we could make the blades interchangeable in the same ferrule. So
Mm-hmm.
now we designed blades where you can take that expandable and you can turn it into a fixed head. So in 2020, we had two models there. The year we launched, right as COVID was getting kicked off. Actually, the first trade show we ever went to, this was kind of going to be our public launch here in Lansing, Michigan. We got the booth all set up, and we're pretty excited, just to display our product for the first time in the public eye. And we were set up for about an hour, and they came by and said, nope, tear down, COVID-19. There's this pandemic. we have to shut the whole state of Michigan down. Governor orders. We're like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? So for the next 2 years, it was kind of an uphill battle trying to get our name out there, trying to, get people to know about us because we're stuck to selling online only. We couldn't go to any shows,
Right.
couldn't go to any dealer visits necessarily because most of them were closed down. But we did start getting a little traction through, social media and stuff. People started hearing about us. People started trying it out. And that eventually we had some dealers contact us like, hey, I've been seeing your stuff, or I've tried your heads. I'd like to bring them in my shop. What do you think? So we kind of built a dealer program. And then at that time, we had some suggestions from customers like, hey, why don't you design a 3 or a 4 blade fixed head? So it would have been 2022, we launched the FX4, which is our 4 blade fixed head, and has been just a phenomenal seller. And we've kind of just been innovating, from here. You'll notice if you look at our lineup now, which includes 4 heads. The new HXP was just launched a month ago at the ATA show. But all of our heads kind of had that same generic look. They have that big, beefy chisel tip. They've got extra thick blades. They're 39 thousandths thick across the board, and that's pretty thick in the replaceable blade category. We prefer 70-75 aluminum ferrules over the 60-61. And we see a pretty good strength out of that, especially the FX4. I mean, that for being an aluminum ferrule head, that thing is literally indestructible. So yeah, we're kind of just putting our own twist on it, looking at things that we as bow hunters would like to see in a head, designing them, testing them, and as they see fit, put them on market, and obviously we scrap some ideas along the way that don't work out, and really we're just having a lot of fun with it.
That's awesome. I really like how you actually listen to like what people are, saying. I mean, I'm sure they're not all, the best ideas, and everything like this, but obviously there's some ideas and stuff in there that make you at least go, oh, okay. Yeah, we're down with that. We can go off to the 4 blade. We can, twist this, change that a little bit, which I think is great. Cause I think there's too many companies that are in that area of like, dude, it ain't broke. I'm not fixing it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things too, where, the hunting industry is pretty big, but realistically speaking, it is a small industry, and there are a lot of different ideas for broadheads out there. Unfortunately we can't please everybody and make a head for a small, 100 people that mow on it, to put something into production like that doesn't make a lot of sense. So we're trying to target the majority of hunters with our designs. But we are, we're big on listening to the customer because they're going to tell you what they want to see. And that's like, I know right now we're getting really hammered for a 3 blade expandable. That's the next thing people are wanting to see out of us. So it really never ends. There's always something to innovate, something to do a little bit differently. But yeah, that's the fun part of it.
And I mean, like I said, I just think that's just great because there's so many companies that just peter out. They're just happy with what it is, and they're just done with it. But you were sitting there talking about the thickness of this and that, and the chisel tips and stuff like this. When you go through, is there some type of like a test, like a manufacturer's test that you have to go through to meet certain criteria before like it's even considered to go out? Or could like me and Levi go through and come up with something and start shipping them out of our garage and say they're broadheads?
Yeah, with the engineering side of it, and this is where my dad comes into play a lot. And there's through the CAD programs and whatnot, I don't really get into the engineering of things. I just have the bright ideas, and he puts them either to life or into the junk bin. But I come up with these ideas, and he's able to go through and look at the different stress tests on the computer and see things that he can do to make these stronger and add a little support here, stuff like that. But really, when it comes down to it, we like to put an entire year of testing into a head before it hits the market.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we want to hunt with them. There's the obvious test. We're gonna go shoot them into a cement block. Not that we're out hunting cement blocks by any means, but it really does show you how tough these things are and where do they break. Stuff like that. We shoot them through steel plates. We shoot them through, plywood on hard quartering angles. You've got your ballistic gel and all that stuff. And those are all great, mediums to look at. A lot of them are really just kind of, YouTube channels are pretty pretty notorious for trying to blow up broadheads and stuff, which
Mm-hmm.
is cool to see. But at the end of the day, if you ask me, there is no better test than actually getting out there and killing animals with your
Oh
broadhead.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
Exactly.
yeah, and that's why it's so important for us to put a hunting season on them. And just like the HXP this year, we launched at ATA right after hunting season. We put a full season on it, killed quite a few animals. We had maybe 6 of us in the field with them, so we piled up a pile of animals with them this year. And about halfway through the season, we had to make some changes to the blades just because they were not as strong as we wanted them to be. We had some more supports in there, but that's the nice thing about being able to make changes on the fly like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of unfortunate. You can't really hunt all year, so you're limited to doing the testing, at least in the Midwest, to,
Mm-hmm.
kind of the fall and stuff. But it's big for us to put a season of hunting on them because that's when you're going to see how do they perform. It might perform great into ballistic gel. It might look great in a wind tunnel. It might look great on paper. But let's get these things on the field in the elements, and let's just really use them and see where they could use some improvements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean it's weird that you keep saying improvements because my year was meh at best. I got me a doe and everything like this, but I know, I sent you the information, sent you the pictures of Levi's buck kill and stuff like this. And dude, I don't know how you can make that better. Like those blades opened up, and I'll let Levi tell you. I mean, it was insane, that hole.
Yeah, I mean that broadhead performed flawlessly like they've always done, and I think I'm on like maybe 6 or 7 deer with that same head. Just keep replacing the blades.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Oh, no kidding. Nice.
yeah, even after shooting that big buck with it, hard quartering angle. I mean, everything was still perfectly intact on that head. I mean, I cleaned it up the next morning, put new blades in it, and was ready to go again.
And I remember you even like pulling out the blades, and you were like, you know what? I probably could shoot another one with these blades, but I have these blades. I'm going to put new ones in there. 'Cause
Yeah.
they weren't chipped, they weren't bent, they weren't.
Yeah, I mean, it was perfect condition still.
It just, the sharpness just wasn't brand new.
And honestly, that was the only deer I've shot with it that has gone over maybe 50 or 60 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every one of them has fallen in sight, massive blood trails, huge entry wounds, exit wounds. I mean, those broadheads are just amazing.
And in your buck, if he wasn't quartering so hard, because I think you caught a little bit of rib on,
Well, I
on the
clipped
front shoulder or something.
that. Yeah, I clipped the front shoulder going in because he was so hard quartering too. I mean, it was just crazy how it happened that I was even able to get an arrow in him, but I had to tuck it in so close to the front shoulder. It clipped the front shoulder and was angling back, and it was actually stuck in the last couple ribs on the opposite side. And I mean, he went. We ended up finally finding him probably 400 or 500 yards later, but the blood trail was just freaking massive. I couldn't believe he went that far. And for that head to be in him the whole time through all of that and still be in perfect condition says a lot.
Come out, knocked her off, put some new blades in there, and looking for another one.
Yeah.
And that was with the XP.
Yeah, that was the XP. Yep.
Yeah, see, that's where we're just a huge proponent to the rear deploying mechanicals too. That's it just seems like they're a little more fail proof. That takes a little less energy to open those up, so you don't lose as much to get that pass through or get at least a hole out the other side. But then you also get that slap cut on entry, man. You're talking blood trails and entry wounds and stuff. But so that XP is an 1.850 resting cut, but when that thing actually hits and opens on impact, I mean, we're seeing 2.25 entry wounds a lot of times, and with the new HXP, we're seeing entry wounds near 3 inches. Now, granted, it does, yeah, they're incredible. You guys are gonna be shocked when you see this thing. It's it falls into a resting position of 2.25 inches, but like I'm saying, that slap cut on impact when that thing lets loose, the 3.8 pounds of force deploys them blades. I mean, it is a massive hole we're seeing.
I couldn't imagine having the HXP doing that same shot that I did with the XP because that hole was massive. I mean, I could stick my fist in that hole. I couldn't imagine the
It's
HXP.
crazy.
It would have it'd have just unzipped its whole side. I mean, there just would have been nothing there. So
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of our little, I guess you'd say, customer story. Have you had any that are just kind of like a oh shit, like I can't believe that my broadhead performed the way that it did for this person?
Honestly, man, it's we get it all the time. We really do. And, along the way, I'll admit that so I don't know if you guys remember, or if you probably used the original retention locks. They were, it would have been, well, about halfway through last season, halfway through 2023, we updated the locks because we were having an issue where they were a pain in the ass to put in. They really were, because both the legs were the same length. So you really had to fumble with it. It's a small part. We were getting some complaints on that. So we went back to the drawing board, and we ended up lengthening one of the legs on that lock, and made it a lot easier to install. It's got a break off tab on it now. Made a world of difference, in the complaints have just kind of gone away. But to your point of customer reviews and stuff, it goes back to just listening to the customers and stuff, and they'll tell you what your issues are and what needs to be changed. But that's an example of where we made something a little bit easier. But yeah, just to hear some of the people, I get messages quite often on Instagram like, hey man, I've shot your broadheads all last season. Here's a picture. Like, I'm totally satisfied. I'll never shoot another head. I hear that all the time, and it really, it's kind of humbling, honestly. Like, I'm not sitting here just trying to pat my own back, but it's just really cool to see that you're actually making a difference in people's hunting, and maybe getting that big buck that might have got away if they were using a different head or something of the sort. It's just it's really cool to see, and I love getting customer feedback.
I just think that's awesome here, because I wonder how many of those people, like, if they've been, like rage guys. I mean, you talk to people that shoot rage, like 90% of the time, they're like, dude, I'll never shoot anything else, this and this and this. But then, they're like, how many of these people, like diehard, whatever, NAPs, rage, sick, or whatever they have out there. I wonder how many of those people had like a little bad taste in their mouth, and all of a sudden they just, went out and shot yours a couple times, and they were just like, dude, like, this is legit. This is the head that I will never, ever not shoot again.
Well, and I think that's certainly part of the big broadhead debate, and in my opinion, there is no perfect broadhead. I think we have a very quality head for a lot of people. Does it cover everybody? No. Is it perfect for every situation? Probably
Right.
not. We do have an offering where we try to offer something for every person or every situation, but there really is no perfect broadhead. There's so many different setups, so many different variables. But it goes back to, it's I guarantee you that there's people out there, even probably with our brand, that they put a bad shot on a deer, and it's always the broadhead's fault.
Oh, absolutely.
And that they want to blame something other than themselves. And luckily we haven't received any of those complaints. We've never had a complaint of somebody tell us that the blades did not deploy. I know in expandable broadheads, that's always the big one is, oh, my blades didn't deploy. My blades didn't deploy. Well, we have literally never heard that, which is, is good. That's what we want.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think, people, that's kind of the last straw, is if they wound an animal or something of the sort, then, they can go from being, I love this broadhead, this is the only broadhead I'll ever use, to, all right, I'm looking for something new,
Which, it's kind of hard for me to believe, that they make these bad shots, because wasn't your doe, I think it wasn't front shoulder, but it was something up in the front half, and it just broke that bone. Or am I thinking wrong? Maybe, no, I think that was my doe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my doe that had, I don't know what you want to call it. Like, it was just behind the shoulder, and they had that little weird bone back in there. I mean, dude, it just blew through it like it had like hot knife through butter. So that's just interesting to me that you're saying, some people, even with yours making those bad shots, but whatever. Sorry, I sidetracked my mind.
Out of all the broadheads on the market, that I've personally shot, I think, if not necessarily to make you take an unethical shot, but if you happen to make a bad shot, due to error, we're human. I think that, especially shooting the XP, and I can't wait to get my hands on the HXP, but I think those heads, if I'm going to make a shot that's bad, I'm going to have one of those, that's going to be the head that's going to do it, because I'm confident that, even with my buck, he was hard quartering too. A lot of people wouldn't take that shot. I was confident in my ability to make the shot, and I was confident in REK's performance. I know those heads. I know how well they've performed for me. There was no doubt in my mind that when that arrow hit that deer was dead.
Yeah, it definitely, it feels like your XPs are almost like a mixture. You got that power of like the fixed blade, that, like you said, that bone breaking, bone crunching tip on there, and then you just get that expandable that just opens it up. Like, it's almost like a best of both worlds kind of deal.
I think that's been the craziest thing for me in this whole experience is seeing literally just the performance out of our expandable head, because there's a lot of people. You can go on any internet forum and ask people about hitting a deer in the shoulder with an expandable broadhead, and they're all probably going to tell you the same thing, that you're not going through that shoulder. And man, I'm not saying go out and shoot a deer in the shoulder with our expandable broadhead, because that's but let's be honest, shit happens,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hunting, and there's a lot of different scenarios, but and obviously this is very very setup dependent, but man, we see a lot of our expandable heads going through shoulders. We get pictures all the time of people punching through that shoulder. And I think that just comes down to that chisel tip. That thing, it just does a number on clearing bone out of the way,
Mm-hmm.
and allows them blades to get in there and do their cutting. It's just it's a nasty tip.
And it opens up your area of mistake, because like you were saying, if you go and read these forums, watch these videos and stuff, and I'll be the first one to admit, like I was in the same boat. Like if you're going to shoot an expandable, like you're aiming more good back behind the shoulder, you're aiming more lungs, wanting to let that thing open up and do its work.
Yep.
And then you go through and you got your fixed, and you're like, well, if I tuck it tight, this and this, but if I go lung, I'm not getting a very big hole. I mean, to me, it's giving you confidence, like Levi was saying, in this head, that you can't, if you need to tuck it tight and you're like, oh shit, man, if this goes an inch and a half to the right, dude, I'm boned. But like with these heads, it's just like, it's like your shooting area goes from maybe like 2 inches to possibly like 4 or 5, depending on where they're quartering, where they're turning, because you're not worried about possibly hitting that bone. And then that's mentally giving you that confidence, like, hey man, I know this thing's going to just blow right through that if it don't hit where I'm looking or aiming.
Yeah. And whether or not it'd go through, they actually know that the actual, like what's the word I'm looking for here, the joint in that shoulder, like the largest part of the shoulder, probably not. But as far as like the actual shoulder blade there, I'm not even the least bit worried about, because just everything I've seen out of these heads, there's a lot of other I guess tool steel, solid piece, single bevel type chest pumpers on the internet that will claim that there's not an expandable that will go through the shoulder. You've got to be shooting a 200 grain single bevel, cut on contact, whatever. Like, I'm not saying they might not perform a little better in those scenarios, but I'm saying that we are doing a damn good job in the expandable blade category of punching through shoulders and punching through hard bones and impacts. It's pretty impressive to see, and it just goes back to sometimes at the end of the day, this is bow hunting. You don't want to hit them in the shoulder, but it happens.
Exactly.
So I don't know. Some of these people just need to be a little bit better shot too. But I mean, stuff happens. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, me and Levi tell people all the time, like, dude, you can kill a deer with a field tip. You know what I mean? If you aim right, you hit right, you're killing that deer. It's just being able to have that confidence in your gear to go from there. So,
yep.
Do you have any goals? Like, I guess for REK, like, do you want to be the next humongous big thing? Do you just want to, keep pumping out a good product, and stay, I guess, run of the mill? I mean, do you want REK to move this way, move that way? Like, do you have any major goals at all for REK?
Yeah, we're just starting to scratch the surface here. We've come a long way, but we've got a long way to go.
Right.
We've got some pretty big goals. I think first and foremost is getting our broadhead lineup complete. We have a few more that we'd like to add to the lineup here over the next couple of years to kind of complete that. And not that we won't make changes down the road and revisions and stuff, but we just want to, there's a few more items that we're missing to the broadhead lineup. But we certainly, we want to become one of the top names in the broadhead category, which, takes time. We're learning that, it takes a lot of time, a lot of money to market and get your name out there. But we're kind of going the grassroots thing, the grassroots level. We're going to all the local trade shows, just kind of pounding the pavement. Social media is obviously huge nowadays, but we're really just letting the product speak for itself. And, it's starting to work. People are starting to hear about it that way, which is fantastic. But, we have some other product lines that we are seriously looking into going into. I won't let any cats out of the bag just yet, but we are, and it's not going to be like a next year thing, but we're looking, a 5-year plan here ahead that we really want to dive into some other lines here that we're pretty excited about.
That's awesome. But are you sure you don't want to say anything? We promise we won't tell anybody. But no, I think that's. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it'll be fun to see where the next few years takes us here.
That's awesome. But yeah, we just got done doing one with Lewis from Dominant Strands, and he's we were talking about, down grassroots and stuff like this, slowly building and things like that. And we're just going to basically be repeating ourselves to where we think like that's almost the best way all in all to go through and do that. I mean, because we were talking about how, how many of these big companies or these companies or brands or whatever you want to say, they come out burning hot for 2 years and all of a sudden they just, and they're gone. Which you've almost already have kind of proved that, especially since you said like your first show you went to was literally at the beginning of COVID. And, you're already going to the ATA and being told, like, hey, your new head is one of the best ones that we've seen this year. I think you're going through and you're doing it right and you're doing it great. Definitely social media and all that stuff. We follow you, and if you're listening to this and you don't, you need to go through, follow Matt on here. They do some really cool stuff with testing their broadheads, and all the time, dude. It's almost daily. It's like 5, 6, 7, 8 people on there saying, like I killed this with this broadhead, this with this broadhead. So I mean, it's Levi and I both feel like the proof is in the pudding. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
Well, we're glad to hear that, and honestly, man, we're really glad that you guys are so involved with the brand and believe in it that much, because that's that's the kind of people we like to work with, is people that truly believe in the product first and foremost, and it's one of them deals where we're still a small company. We don't have that $250,000 advertising budget, so the best way, and this is the way we wanted to do it anyway, is just to get out on the road and meet these customers firsthand, shake hands, show them the product that way. I think for one, it just means a lot more to the people, but it means
Absolutely.
a lot more to us too, just being able to talk to the customer and get to know their thoughts, what they want to see. It's just, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, I think that you're 100%, like you're definitely on the right path with going through and do that, because I know me personally, if I went somewhere, don't get me wrong, I go down the fishing lure line or aisle, I'm like, ooh, that's kind of cool, and stuff catches my eye. But if I can go through and talk to somebody about a product and stuff like this, and they're as passionate as you are, and and you sit down and you give me your 2 cents of like, we started here and we went from this and then we went to this and we listened to these people and we went to this. I mean, to me, that's telling me that you're not wanting to settle. You're not going to come out with just this one thing and hope to become a multi-millionaire in 2 years and be done with it, and then go through and come out with like instead of a silver chisel tip, come out with a black one with rubber on it and say it's a brand new high-end, burning through deer lubricant, just to like little tweaks or something. So I think that's great. I mean, yeah.
No snake oil, no smoke and mirrors.
Exactly.
No, man, because that's, I've before we started the broadhead company, I've kind of we did some filming and stuff in the industry, and I worked with some YouTube channels and did a little marketing companies and stuff. So I've been around the industry a little bit, and I've seen a lot of these companies that kind of like you mentioned earlier, that kind of they just come and go in 2 years, and you can kind of tell people's intentions. And obviously we've got to make money to stay in business. Yeah. But really, we are bow hunters. That's what we are. We love to bow hunt. We love to talk bow hunting. We love to talk new products, and that's what keeps us going, and I just being out there and working these shows and stuff. I'm not going to say at the end of a 3-day show, I'm not a little wore out and ready to go home, but man, I'm ready to do it all over again the next weekend, because I just love it.
Yeah. So I know you said that, you had some people out going through and testing these broadheads and stuff, but just a general question, how did your season go? I mean, did you even have time really to go out much?
Yeah, so I got out this season a lot more than I had the last probably 3 seasons. The last couple of years I was just so busy in the trenches, just hammer down working on this thing, that I didn't get to hunt as much as I normally would like. And this year I pumped the brakes a little bit. I'm like, all right, guys, look, come September, October, November, I'm doing some hunting this year. And
You mean product testing? You're up.
Well,
Yeah,
yes,
product testing.
exactly, exactly. Yes, guys, I'm hitting the field testing. There you go. So yeah, I got some hunting in. Got to take my girlfriend on to try to get her first buck out west. Did not get her first buck, but had a really good encounter with a big deer that I ended up killing later in the year with that new HXP. Got to spend some time filming a good buddy in Iowa. Got on film him killing a buck out there. So just had a really, really fun season. Got to test the new product, which was phenomenal. That 10-pointer I killed in North Dakota there, I killed him with the HXP, and that was another, I put a bad shot on that deer. He come through behind me, just, cruising for does. I think it was October 26th or somewhere right in there, he was just getting in that cruising stage and cruised through behind me, and I pulled back and had to shoot at a really weird angle, hit him real low. Long story short, I tracked the deer 550 yards, just barely nicked the heart, but he bled like you wouldn't believe the whole entire way. But it just comes down to, that large cut of that expandable, I think, saved my butt on that deer. And man, it was a fun season.
That's great. I mean, I know we're excited to see, what these new HXPs can do and everything like that. I'm still just kind of sitting here thinking about, dude, 3 inches, like 3 inch, dude. I mean, I tell my wife all the time, 3 inches is big, but to sit here and think, if you're putting a hole through an animal like that, I mean, that's just.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like I said, it's a 2 1/4 inch, but a lot of, on at least half these deer, we've measured right around that 3 inch mark on entrance,
Right.
The exit's not as big, but it's, man, it's crazy. And I'll also point out there that, I think we killed 9 deer with them this year. The only deer to go over 40 yards was my deer that ran 550 yards. But on average, or the majority, they were all 40 yards or less on the ground.
That's just crazy because me and Levi looked at each other and I know we're thinking the same thing. Like, that's exactly what happened with us.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine, the XPs getting any better. Like, I can't wait to shoot them. Well, honestly, I can't, Matt. I mean, it's been crazy to see what the XPs have done, and even after shooting my buck and showing the entry hole on it on social media, the response that we got from it. I mean, we had a lot of messages. What is it again you guys are shooting? And I had a lot of buddies that were diehard rage shooters. They're like, okay, what are you shooting? I'm ordering.
Nice. Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, and I think obviously the bigger the cut you get, probably the more poundage you should be pulling. I think for anybody pulling, 60, 70 pounds, these new HXPs, the hyper cut's not going to be an issue. It's going to be, somebody that's down to the 50 pounds, you might want to look more into the XP just because, it's a lot bigger cut. It doesn't sound like it on paper, but man, it really is a bigger cut, and it takes a little more force to punch it through,
Now, has anybody shot the XP or the HXP out of a crossbow? How does that perform?
Yeah, so quite a bit. Here in Michigan, I'm not sure how you guys are. Are you guys legal with crossbows down there now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Some people absolutely hate it, and some people love it.
Yeah. We've been legal for, oh gosh, maybe going on about 10 years up here now, and so we have a lot of crossbow shooters, and so we rate all of our heads to 450 feet per second. That's kind of what we test them to. I know some of these crossbows now, I mean, we're looking 500, which is pretty crazy.
That's insane.
And that kind of gets to the point where an aluminum head might not, might not be the ticket. So we're kind of looking into maybe some titanium options, maybe a crossbow actual specific head for some of those real fast crossbows. But we trust our stuff to 450 plus. We test it to 450. So you're good up to there. But yeah, these new crossbows, they're going for the moon.
So getting back to this crossbow thing, so you guys still have deer though up there though, because that was our big stink when they were talking about it down here. Is all of our deer were going to get killed because everybody's going to go out with crossbows and kill everything.
Well, the problem in Michigan has always been that we have a ton of deer, but we just don't have any big deer. So I guess we haven't noticed much of a difference. We still have a ton of deer. Still not a lot of big deer, but yeah, I mean, I get it. You know, it's a lot of the people that previously only got out with firearms, you know, are now picking up crossbows and getting out. And we were kind of the same way when it was legalized here. Like, oh man, what's this going to do to the deer herd? And we haven't really noticed a difference.
Yeah, we haven't either. That's just something Levi and I we talk about all the time when these people go through, and it's. I mean, they went through and they just allowed us, just this year to go through and rifle hunting, and I mean, dude, the uproar was just something else. You know, like, oh my god, people are going to get shot everywhere, and all this and all that, and
Yep.
so, so I'm going to twist your arm just a little bit. So, is there anything though that REK is coming out with that maybe you can give us a little tease about, a little taste about? I know you said, you know, possibly a 3-blade and stuff like this, but I mean, I don't really know how much. If you got an expandable, you got a 3-blade, and then you got a 4-blade, like what else can you dabble your toes in?
Yeah, so we're certainly looking. You know, I think we're probably we've contemplated back and forth, but I think our lane is definitely the replaceable blade category. You know, we get asked for people that would like, you know, a 200 grain, or they'd like a single bevel, or they want a one piece, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and argue with somebody if that's what they want, that, you know, it's not the right choice by any means. In my opinion, I don't know that you necessarily need some of those properties, but it's just not what we know. So we're not probably going to dive into that kind of market. We're going to stay in the replaceable blade category, but we are looking down the direction of maybe a 3-blade expandable, maybe a hybrid fixed expandable, you know, stuff like that. Maybe, who knows, you might see an arrow line down the road, arrow components. You never know. You never know.
Never know.
We do have one new product coming out yet this year, probably, I would guess, in the next 2 months or so. I don't know, without spilling all the beans, I'm just gonna call it a quiver accessory at the moment. It's nothing like super crazy, but it's just something that's gonna be a nice feature that I think a lot of people will find some use in.
That's awesome. I'm excited. I'm like a kid in the candy store here. You know, I'm sitting here giggling, kind of thinking, oh man, I asked that question. He's not going to say anything, but I got a little bit out of you. I got a little.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah. But I know you were talking about earlier about how, which I don't know if people know this or not. I just want to dive into it just a little bit, to where you're talking about your regular XPs. So with these, you can go through and put in 2 fixed blades. Man, I had a brain fart there. Which I think that, and this is what I tell people all the time, because, you know, you get these people and like, man, I've always shot fixed. I've always shot fixed. I've always shot fixed. But then for whatever reason, you know, they kind of like, man, you know, maybe I do want to shoot an expandable, you know, just because, you know, I read this or read that, or they just think it's maybe too much. Is there any other broadhead out there that you can think of that even does that? Because I can't.
There is one other. And honestly, off the top of my head right now, I can't think of the name of it. I've looked into it a little bit here and there, kind of after we launched. It wasn't, you know, we didn't necessarily take their idea or anything. I don't even know when their company came about. And it seems like they've got a solid head, really does, from what I've seen. You don't hear a lot about it. But yeah, so I think there's probably just 2 of us on the market doing that. And I guess the concept for us was, and it hasn't extremely taken off by any means, but for some people it is a pretty beneficial feature that, you know, you can, you know, maybe you're going to an outfitter that doesn't allow expandables, but you always shoot the expandables. And let's be honest, broadheads are, they're not getting any cheaper.
And that's, and that's what I tell a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty expensive, you know, and they keep climbing. You know, it's big for us to keep our stuff made in America. We, you know, we don't want to send stuff to China. And I know sometimes people complain about prices, but it's like, man, it's just, I promise you, we're not putting it all in our pocket. It's, we're just paying for materials here. But yeah, so broadheads are going up, and, you know, rather than have to buy, you know, just a brand new pack or 2 packs of fixed heads to go on your elk hunt with the outfitter that doesn't allow expandables, you can just go buy a $20 set of blades and slap them in there, and you're ready to rock, you know. Or maybe you have a family of bow hunters, you know, you got 4 bow hunters in the house, and and some of them are shooting low poundage, some of them are shooting expandables, some are shooting crossbows, whatever. You can have just kind of a mixed bag of things in the archery tackle box, and you can swap blades around whoever's shooting what. It's just kind of a neat concept. It's like, well, if you're going to offer a 2-blade fixed, a 2-blade expandable, why not just make them universal?
Yeah, I never even thought about that, but yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, because yeah, if you go through and have these, and let's say me and Levi are going somewhere, and all of a sudden we kind of have an oh shit moment, you can just go through and swap this and swap that without having to go through, like you were saying, go spend another 60, 70, whatever it is for another whole 3-pack of something you don't know about. Because I mean, I've shot your fixed, I've shot your 4-blade, I've shot the regular XPs and all that stuff, and it doesn't register in my brain correctly, but they all hit like in the same area.
Yeah, that's and there's a lot goes in that too, just with bow tuning and stuff. But we get it from our dealers quite often, and even our customers and stuff, that I don't know if that there's any way to actually test it, but I would be willing to bet we have one of the most accurate fixed heads on the market. That FX4, man, that thing literally just drives tacks. Like it's that was something that was big for us in the design process. Is it's just a pain in the butt to back in the day when we'd shoot fixed heads, some of the older models that you'd screw your field tips off, put your broadhead on for hunting, and now you're hitting 8 inches to the left. It's like, well, this is kind of a problem. Now I gotta resight my bow in, or I've gotta shoot all of these arrows and number them. Number 1,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Number 3 doesn't quite shoot that good. So it's we wanted to get rid of that. We wanted to have these things fly just like your field points. And I would say for the majority of hunters, we're doing just that. There's occasionally, I can think of literally like 2 occasions where I've had people tell me, hey, I can't get these to fly. And I think at that point, it really comes into a serious bow tuning issue. But I mean, 99% of our customers are like, wow, you guys hit this out of the park with accuracy.
Yeah, because I'll take them and I'll spin them, to watch them and do them right and stuff. And every now and again, I'll get one that just, she's just got a little slide into it, but I rotate that, my insert and stuff, twist it just a little bit, get it lined up right, takes it right out. Man, I hate using the term, but there's no other way of using it. But dude, they fly like field tips.
Yeah, that's a very overused term, but I think I don't know what else to say other than they literally do. And in that spinning thing, we had a conversation with a dealer a few months back where our FX4s, there was a little bit of wobble in those in the tips that he wasn't getting the perfect spin out of them every time, and that is something we are I know the perfect spin is very important, and we're working on that. I think what we're going to end up doing is we're going to make the threads on the tip and the ferrule a little finer. But when you have even like a Muzzy or any of these tips that screw together to the ferrule, you're never gonna get those threads to line up exactly perfect where it's a perfect spin. They're gonna be really close, but it's like I told the dealer, I said, man, this thing has it's a very minimal wobble, but it's you can see it. I said, go out and shoot this thing at 60, 70 yards. I said, you're not going to see a difference, I promise you, because they're just the actual ferrule itself is very straight, but we're seeing it ever so slightly in that tip, just where it binds together. But from what I've seen in just actual accuracy, it's not making much of a difference because the ferrule itself is so straight.
Right. It's just not cutting, like you're saying, it's not the perfect spin as it is. But I wanted to go back to, which I always do this, I get sidetracked and everything. But I wanted to explain to everybody, I guess we said you could do it, but we never explained how. So you can go from the regular XP to and I'm having a blank here. I don't know what your 2-blade's called.
The FXD.
Yeah, the FXD. So you go through, you buy either one, and then you can buy the other blades. All you do is you literally just unscrew the tip right off top of the ferrule, and then you pull it out. The XP's got a little, I guess you want to call it a little pin that kind of sits in the middle of it. You go through, put that collar on there, and you got an expandable. And then, like you were saying, if you wanted to go through and try something else different, you're going somewhere else and something, you literally just, again, unscrew that tip, pull that out, take it out, and then you just put the the fixed blades in there, and you got a whole new head, but with the exact same head. And then let's say you come back and you want to go back to this one, and it's literally switching back and forth if you choose to go to. Which I know that I've told people this before because, like I was saying, people watch these videos or they just want to change up something because sometimes people just want to change it up a little bit. And I'll tell them, you go through and you buy this pack, and like you're saying, and then for $20, you're basically getting a whole new set just without the, the ferrule and the tip and all that stuff. And they kind of give me that confused dog look. Their head kind of goes to the side a little bit. And sometimes I have to flat out show these people. And once I show them, they're like, no shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a different concept. And so the neat thing too about the new HXP is that also falls into that same modular platform. So now it's 3 different models essentially out of the same ferrule, the same tip.
That's awesome.
That is all. And I wasn't even thinking about it, but you get 3 of them out of there. So that's.
Well, and talking about even replacing the blades on them, after you've shot a deer or whatever, they're so easy to replace.
Yeah.
Like I can pretty much do it with my eyes closed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a huge thing for us is, we wanted it just to be as simple as possible, because the simpler it is, the less chances for failure there are, and especially with that FX4, that's literally that's probably got to be one of the easiest heads to put together out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to it. You're looking at 2 blades that slip together, a ferrule and a tip, 4 pieces. That's it.
And to me, when you're talking about broadheads, simple's how you want. I mean, it seems the more sophisticated you get, that's when you run into issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we've seen, whether it be some sort of spring system inside or whatnot, when you get out in the elements, and you're hunting, we've hunted up in the Dakotas when it's 10 below 0, and everything's all iced up and frozen. You don't know what you're going to run into out there if you're back in the mountains hunting elk, and you just want your stuff simple and something that in the back of your head you got nothing to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Which, going back to what we were talking about earlier, I mean, that just that in itself, I mean, just knowing that the product that you have is going to perform the way that it's supposed to, I mean, that's just one less thing. I mean, I don't know how it is like when you pull back. Like when I pull back, dude, I want to pull back and just think of nothing except for focusing on that spot. I don't want to sit here and be like, man, I hope this goes right. I just shot at the house, the other day and everything was going to the left except for that one. Man, I hope that was just this and that. The confidence in your equipment is just, to me, it's just second to none. And that's one reason too why me and Levi just absolutely keep going through and just, I mean, everybody we're talking to it's always about this and that because man, I'll be honest with you, dude, if your product was shit, dude, we wouldn't want nothing to do with you. I mean, it's simple as that. You put out a hell of a product, man.
Well, that means a lot. It really does. And it's, we just understand it. We know what it's like to hunt one deer all season and, make multiple trips, whether, like a couple of years ago, we were hunting a 200-inch deer in Iowa. We were literally driving out there from Michigan. It's a 10-hour drive, driving out there to hunt a Saturday evening and turn around and head right back home to be back to the shop on Monday,
Mm-hmm.
and you put that kind of dedication into hunting one animal. You want everything from your quiver to your sight to your bow to everything just to be fail proof. You don't want any doubts, and
Mm-hmm.
we know how that is, and we want to offer a product that takes that doubt out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about that doubt, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that shooting these broadheads, when I draw back on an animal, if I do my duty, that animal is dead. And that is just because of the performance of that broadhead. And even if I do make a marginal shot, I know if I can get an arrow in that deer's dead because of your product. Going back to, I've hit on it a few times already, but going back to the buck I killed with that hard quartering 2 angle, a lot of people would have made that shot and been like, oh God, I hope I find that deer. Mm-hmm. We left that deer overnight. We knew we needed to give him time based on the shot. but there was no, like, it was a sleepless night, but it wasn't a sleepless night due to, God, I hope we find that deer. It was a sleepless night due to anticipation that I knew I was going to find that deer. I knew that broadhead was going to do its job. It hadn't let me down before, and I knew it was going to do its job, and I could not wait to get out there at daylight the next morning with my dad and AJ and pick up the trail.
And he's not lying either. He was texting me, making sure I was up and ready to go. And I asked him, I said, dude, couldn't sleep? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yep, couldn't sleep at all. But that's exactly what he told me. And I mean, I was kind of like, hey man, this guy's a little confident in himself. But I mean, we went out there and we walked. I mean, dude, there was, I don't even think there was a sweat off his brow. I mean, it was going through and going through and going through. And even when,
well, I know you were getting nervous a
I
couple
was,
times.
that's exactly where I was just going to go. Yeah. Is when I went to you and I was like, dude, Levi, I don't know, dude. And you're like, oh no, we're good. We're good. We just got to find, oh, there's a speck of blood. Oh, there's some blood. Oh, there he opened back up.
And when he opened up, I mean, he opened up like it was crazy. I mean, it's hard pressed to find a blood trail any better than that.
Yeah, and that's just the biggest thing too. And I've made the mistake in the past, and when you put a bad shot on a deer, it just you got to give them the time. Be confident in your equipment and give them that time though, because you bump them out of their bed, and I mean it's hard to get back on blood after that.
Well, and we actually did bump. I mean, Dad and I started. Well, it was a crazy story. Dad and I we both doubled on deer on the same farm that night. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, he shot one about a half an hour or so before, and I actually had his buck come by me, and I couldn't get a shot at it. And I saw him go to him, and I texted him. I said, "Hey, big buck headed your way." And about 5 minutes later, I heard crashing over there, and I text our group of buddies, and I'm like, "I think Dad just shot that deer." And it wasn't a minute later, he texts me. He goes, "I got him." And so about a half hour later, he's like, "Hey, you want to go get the truck? Let's get this deer out of here." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine." And started walking across the field to the truck, and all hell breaks loose, and so we got his deer out, and went over and started tracking this one, and he went over in a draw, and we actually jumped him in there, and
oh man.
So I told him, I'm like, let's back out. So we backed out, and we gave him overnight, and I mean, he didn't go, I don't know, maybe another 150, 200 yards after we jumped him.
Yep.
And I really don't think that he left or that he went that far, because the arrow didn't hit where it was supposed to. I mean, dude, I think he was just so bulled up on adrenaline. Yeah. I mean, going out trying to, fucking fight, he just, it 100% wasn't, because that hole was just massive. It did its job. So, I mean, even with it going that far, I know, Matt, you said yours went a good ways because it wasn't the best shot, but I still would bet money that Levi's went as far as it did just because it was so hyped up on adrenaline. And
I believe it.
And I don't think that buck knew what happened until it was too late.
Oh no, I mean, there was even a delay. Like after the arrow hit him, there was a delayed reaction of like, oh shit, what just happened? Because he was so focused in on me in that cornfield as another buck coming in to fight. He had no clue what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they get so amped up that time of year, I think, and then they're so tough in their will to survive. It's just incredible. And then
second to none.
Back to that deer I killed this year that he ran 550 yards there. I was discussing that with a couple buddies, and it's like, we kind of, we touched on it, like 550 yards. That's a long way, especially, hitting the heart. But, so this was clear through a cornfield, and we're like, you know what, honestly, like a deer, he's hit. He was carrying the mail, he was running really fast. He probably covered that ground in less than 15 seconds,
Oh yeah.
It's crazy how much ground they can cover. And, that's we backed out of there twice just because, like, that's a long distance, but when you really think about it, when they're running like that, I mean, they cover it fast.
Oh, real quick. So any chance maybe next year you're going to be strolling through Illinois anytime?
There's a good possibility, man. That's we get out that way quite a bit. I have some buddies in Iowa and Missouri and stuff, so we're always passing through.
Maybe we could do a sit down, do list, a little one-on-one next time.
Hey, that'd be cool.
Maybe get a little hunting in too.
Now we're talking. You guys got them big bucks down there.
Well, I'm not saying we. I'd say one of us does, but it ain't me. I'll have to introduce you to my outfitter. Maybe he can get you onto something a little bit better than what he did for me.
Well, that's just because I don't like you.
But no, really, if you come rolling through here, I mean, shoot me a text, get a hold of us, something we'd love to. I mean, even if it's just a quick stop by, stretch your legs, get some lunch or something, we'll definitely make
we'll
something
try to set that up.
Yeah, that sounds
For
great.
sure.
So, but I think though that we're going to cut this off. I can't believe we talked about a broadhead for an hour, but it doesn't surprise me at the same time. It's crazy where, this little adventure Levi and I are on is taking us. We love it. And Matt, I know we told you earlier, but we are beyond tickled pink that you took the risk, took the chance, to go on this ride with us. And we're very excited to see where you go. And I'm telling you what, buddy, dude, we are going to squeeze onto your coattails as tight as we can. And even if we get just a little bit of some crumbs at the end, we're more than happy because we think you got some big things coming.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun ride, and that's we're all about partnering ourselves with people like you guys that are just die hard, passionate about it like we are. That's it's one big brotherhood, and we're here for it.
That's awesome. You got anything to add before we cut this off?
I think I'm good.
All right. You said your 7 words as usual, and I talked my 450. So, all right. Well, Matt, one more time, thank you so much for being on here. We're going to cut this off. So everybody, if you're listening still, make sure you go back and listen to our other episodes and everything. If you're listening to this one and you're wondering what podcast or which episode we're talking about with Levi's Crazy Buck Kill, it's literally called that, Levi's Crazy Buck Kill. Make sure you go listen to that one and all the other ones. And with that all being said, we will catch you on the next one.